Sometimes a canning recipe will give you the option to hot pack or raw pack your food, but they don't really go into which one you should use and why. So today I want to answer that question. Let's start with the basics. Hot pack is when you cook the food even slightly before it goes into the jars, and then raw pack is just what it says. The food is raw when you put it into the jars. Some recipes call for one or the other because the recipe developer knows that that is what's going to give you the best end result, and other times it's just because only one method has been tested. But when you do have the choice, these are the factors that can help you make your decision. The first thing is time, and hot packing definitely can add time, especially if you're working in batches, because of course you have to cook the food first. However, your processing time is often a little bit shorter, so this can really balance out in the end. The next thing is efficiency. Cooking is going to shrink the ingredients sometimes by as much as 30%, so if they are pre-shrunk, then you can fit more into each jar. This is especially true for fruits, and the more ripe your produce is, the more air it's going to contain. There are a couple of exceptions though, so if you are raw packing corn, potatoes, beans, and peas, definitely pack them a little bit looser because they are going to expand and hold more water. And the last, but probably the most important thing to consider is the long-term quality of whatever you're canning. Sometimes the texture on raw packed food, especially when it comes to vegetables, is a little bit better, but it can also take a little bit more time for the flavors to develop. Like with pickles, it's just gonna take time for that to really marinate versus if you cooked it for a couple minutes before packing it into the jars. With raw pack, you often will also notice that the liquid and food shrinks by quite a bit after processing because it expands while it cooks and then it shrinks when it cools. That will increase the amount of oxygen left in the jar, and also it leaves a lot of oxygen left in the fruit, so the contents are more likely to oxidize. This affects red produce in particular. It will start to turn brown within a couple of months, especially the fruit that's at the very top. That's just going to oxidize, and it's still safe to eat, but it's a little less appetizing. This is also particularly prone to happen if you're not using sugar, salt, or vinegar to help act as a preservative within the jar. One other note, if you're raw packing, you want to keep your canner and jars at a little bit lower of a temperature so that when you put a cooler jar with cooler food into it, the hot water doesn't cause a temperature shock and shatter your glass. As I'm canning this year, I'm planning to do kind of an FAQ series, so if you have questions, drop them in the comments and I will see you in the next one.